Hello everybody, happy 2022, hope you're all doing well in the new year, and welcome to a brand new series on the channel called Non-Meta, where we play games probably the way the devs intended. Today we're looking at the Merc, Rocket League's unmarked white van, and why its pick rate is so low. Right from the get-go, I can tell you why it's not picked very often. It's kind of a weird car to play with. It's top-heavy, feels kind of cumbersome compared to other hitboxes. It's a bit difficult to read in the air when you're aerialing, and it's weirdly close to being like a cube. I mean, if you saw this car in real life, you'd probably go, "Aw, look at that little baby van." Despite all that though, it is quite an endearing vehicle, so it's quite unsurprising that it's quite a common meme pick alongside the Scarab. If you didn't know, all the cars in Rocket League are under 6 hitbox categories which determine their dimensions, one of which is the Merc, which has its own fairly new hitbox made just for it. It used to be a Octane, but very recently that was separated out. It's the largest hitbox by volume and by far the tallest of them all. Interestingly, it's also the thinnest, which makes this car the sunfish of Rocket League cars. These stats, however, make it a very strong defensive car for new to intermediate players. Its extreme dimensions also make it a monster pincher. I mean, if you have not tried to pinch with this car yet, I highly recommend it. You can get manic speed from what would otherwise be kind of very mid pinchers. I would definitely recommend giving it a go. And weirdly, obviously, whenever you try something new in Rocket League, it tends to give you that sort of new car feel. And I was really mopping the floor with these casual games that I was playing in the Merc. I would recommend definitely giving the Merc a go, seeing if you like it. It's definitely different from when it used to be an Octane hitbox, but overall, pretty good. Pretty good. Now, there's a few reasons why the Merc has such a low pick rate. Partly because of what it is. You know, it's a van in a game that has a lot of quite flash cars. Even the Octane, by comparison, is a much more sort of attractive car to use. And the main reason probably that it's not been picked too often is because it's gone through a lot of changes in its time. When the game came out initially, all of the cars in Rocket League had their own hitboxes. At the time, Merc had its own hitbox. Obviously, it's a ginormous hitbox because it is a ginormous car. And then once they were standardized, it was put into the Octane hitbox, which at the time was one of 5 hitboxes to choose from. And now more recently, it's been redone to a Merc hitbox. It's made the Merc a sort of difficult choice to stick with, obviously, because once you change hitbox, you sort of change the style of play, and it can be sort of difficult to adjust. Same thing happened with the Takumi. The Takumi used to be quite a big pick when it was sort of its own hitbox, but obviously once the Takumi became an Octane, sort of fell out of public favor because it's not the same car anymore that it used to be. It's now just an Octane, and if it's just an Octane, you might as well just use the Octane. And one thing to address, particularly about the meta that surrounds Rocket League, is it's more of a tactile meta. It's more about how it feels to use a vehicle. The differences between the vehicles are quite minute in the grand scheme of things. The dimensions only vary by about 20%, give or take. They all accelerate at the same rate, they will boost at the same rate, they will climb at the same rate. Generally, the handling is a little bit different, but they're generally quite the same. The inclinations are within like half a degree of each other. You probably didn't even realize that the cars had inclination, but they do. So really, your car choice for the vast majority of players is just personal preference, which is why I use the plank hitbox. But for the top level of play, so your RLCS, your bubble scene, it is actually quite important to pick a vehicle which is consistent, one that you know, one that your teammates are familiar with. So most people, particularly when the game released, a lot of the pros were former SARP players, and those players had used the Octane primarily for their play, as far as I'm aware. And once they transferred over, they carried on that spirit. And even though in early Rocket League esports, there were other picks. You saw like planks. You also saw a bit of dominus as well. Most of those other hitboxes have just sort of ceased to exist in the pro scene. It is almost entirely dominated by the Octane now. And obviously, once you have this single hitbox dominance, all the videos that the pros make, all the esports scenes, obviously it's all Octane. And people like to sort of get advice from people they aspire to be, you know. And obviously, if you see your favorite player using a car, you probably want to try and use that car as well. Content creators who maybe join the scene after watching their favorite pros use an Octane will make videos using the Octane as well. And there you have a sort of culture around using the Octane. And now when you load into a competitive game in Champ, you've got about a 90% chance that everyone else is going to be using the Octane. So it's less of no one wants to use the Merc, it's more everyone wants to use the Octane. And that's why the Merc is non-meta. I hope you enjoyed this little video. We're going to not just be looking at Rocket League, we're also going to be looking at some other games. If you have any other games you'd like me to try the non-meta of at any point, let me know. Let me know what the non-meta you want me to do is, and maybe I'll give it a go. But until then, be sure to subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.